That's it. We're live. Hi, everybody. This is Daniel Horowitz, expert genealogist at MyHeritage. Thank you for coming here today to this live Facebook. From our headquarters, today we are with Jessica Taylor from Legacy Tree. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you.
Jessica is actually here for a one-day seminar that we are going to have on Sunday, this Sunday, October 29. And you can find more information about the seminar in our blog. Jessica is going to be talking about Google, right, and how to pass your genealogy to further generations.
That's right.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we already said that you're from Legacy Tree Genealogists. So why you don't tell our audience a little bit about what you and your team are doing?
Sure. Well, so we work with MyHeritage quite a bit, both with your records and for your customers who need extra help. So we do client research. People hire us to find the tough stuff, the things that they get stuck on, or languages that they can't read, or biological parents they can't track down. So we get to do all of the really interesting stuff all over the world. It's great.
Nice. So you're just going to the brick walls and turn them down.
We sure do.
Excellent.
Yep.
Okay, so if you be so kind to write your questions just below here. And if you don't have any questions but are just enjoying this session, you can just tell us where are you watching from. We would love to mention your name and your place. After all, MyHeritage is kind of global with support of 42 languages. So I expect you to be from around the world, right? People from Australia probably before they go to bed, and people from the West Coast are what? Just walking up, more or less?
More or less.
Yeah? Good. So we did receive a couple of questions beforehand, and we can start with Mary from London, and I think this is for you, Jessica.
Okay.
She's asking, what should you do when you are a beginner at a research?
Okay.
So you just said that you take care of this tough stuff, but what about somebody just starting doing
Sure.
your genealogy?
Absolutely. So if you're just starting, I'd like to put in a plug for MyHeritage, because I think that honestly they've gone to a lot of trouble to help people who are just starting get, some extra help there at the beginning with smart matches, instant discoveries, things like that. So I think that's wonderful. Beyond that, one thing that you don't want to overlook at the first is the knowledge that your own relatives already have. So be sure to interview them and get that information about their grandparents, things that they know. And then beyond that, the second thing that you want to do is to look for indexed records, because those are going to be the easiest to work with and the quickest for you to find. So indexed and online, like in your database. And then after that, there are plenty of records that are not online yet.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately, we're
Yes.
still fighting to bring all those records into digital and through the internet.
Right, yes. So those records are going to be housed in archives, courthouses, libraries, ideally the location where your ancestor was at, so you can track them down. We do work with a large team of genealogists all over the world to get those particular records from whatever location that they're at. So that would be your next step.
And let me clarify, when you said that you want to do a pitch for MyHeritage, and of course we appreciate that very much, but if I may, I would say just build the family tree. Not just go to MyHeritage, but start writing the information as you said, in a family tree and put all together, so you will have it on one place, and that will help also with the next steps. Okay, so I have to thank also Jess and Rafi behind the scenes, and they are making signs that we are having more and more people chiming in to the broadcast. So right now we have Fiona from Scotland, Stephanie from Oklahoma, that's an easy one, and Ron from Netherlands. Thank you very, very much for following us. The next question that arrived from Arkansas?
Yes.
Yes, Arkansas, Dina. She's asking about DNA test, and yes, that's a hot topic, of course, and MyHeritage is also into that. And she said that I get a DNA test and my husband got a DNA test, and they want to know if they need to pay separately. Well, Dina, I have good news. No, you don't have to pay twice. You can manage your DNAs and as many DNA kits tests that you want from only one account, from the same account, with no problem. The trick is only to activate that second, third, fourth kit from your account on MyHeritage, and then you're paying only once and having everything that MyHeritage has to offer regarding DNA. So that are the good news. And Helen from Missouri is asking about shipment. After you order the DNA kit, normally will take about a week. And just because holidays are coming, I will advise you to think on that. Normally, the mail takes a little bit longer because of gifts and cards going and increasing the volume. So order soon your kit, and within a week you should have it. And then when you return it, it will take between 3 and 4 weeks for you to get results. And here is the scoop for everybody, and because we already know that holidays is a busy time for the mail, we are working on faster deliveries of the DNA kits, but I cannot mention anything else, so stay tuned for that. Now, the next question is coming from New Jersey, regards to my family over there in New Jersey, and this is not my family, but they are asking, what records do I need to prove my family tree? Jessica, you were talking about records. So which type of records do people need?
Well, I mean, that's a really large question, first of all, because proving your family tree is quite a big process, because the main thing that has to be proven is each generation of your ancestors. So, you know, we focus a lot on dates and places, right? Birth dates and birthplaces, marriage, death, but really it's those family connections that are the most vital to be proven to be correct.
So you need to prove that actually the kid is the kid from the parents,
yes,
and that
because
the parents
if that is wrong,
are married one to the other.
How many birth dates are correct? You're searching the wrong people, right?
Okay.
So
makes sense.
Yeah. So that's so the focus really needs to be on that connection and proving that connection. So, one piece of advice with that, I guess, would be, you know, when you're researching recent ancestors, that's pretty easy. A death certificate, you know, can give you that proof pretty quickly. But once you get to an earlier time period, it's going to be a lot harder to make that proof happen. And just because you found a baptismal certificate for an ancestor that has your ancestor's name does not mean that that is your actual ancestor. You can't just attach that to your tree assuming that that name means that it belongs to that person. So you really have to make a case for each generation of ancestry. You know, one way we do that is we take the birth record, but then we'll look in the surrounding area and make sure that there isn't anybody else with that same name also being baptized in that area. And, you know, and if there is, then you need to eliminate those other possibilities, those other competing candidates for your ancestry, and just make sure that the record you pick is actually your ancestor.
Guy.
Yeah.
Great.
So it's a process.
Excellent. No, I love this, because although I'm the expert genealogist here in MyHeritage, and we were talking about this before, like, I'm always learning. We're always learning from other people. That's why we go to conferences. That's why we do webinars, and we hear each other things, and that's great. I love. And just one more word, and you will tell me if I'm wrong or not. The question was regarding records, and I love to find tombstones. And I actually see the tombstones as records, not primary because it's not made by the person itself, but still it has information about the disease, and I found a lot of times very useful information.
Absolutely.
Right there.
Yeah, we've had Irish brick walls before that. The only way that it was solved was somebody mentioned on a tombstone where the guy was from, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, great records.
Good. So for those of you joining us now, again, I'm Daniel Horowitz from MyHeritage, joined by Jessica Taylor from Legacy Tree Genealogist. We're answering your genealogy questions, so feel free to write them below here, I guess. And Jess and Rafi in the background will pass it to us. And if you don't have any question, you are just enjoying the time, just tell us who you are and where you're from. And we have already a list of names that we can start reading in a moment. But then I have another question about DNA right here from Deborah from Vista, California. And she's asking something, I hear this every time, like, why MyHeritage results are so different on the ethnicities from the other companies. And this is actually very easy to answer if you understand the basics. Like, each company has his own algorithms, each company has its own reference. In MyHeritage, what we call the founders population, we pick and choose people, users of MyHeritage that we know in family trees that they were many, many generations in one area in order to use them as a sample. We were also talking about this before, like if I can try to test some food and for me it may be too sweet or too salty, and for another person the same food may not be as salty or as sweet as I thought. So it depends on how do you compare, what points of reference you have to compare. And definitely, MyHeritage being more international and having 46 areas for the ethnicity, which not all the other companies will have, will make that different. Let's keep on rolling with the questions, and hopefully, Jess, you will have me that list of names very soon. Todd from Kansas is asking about the surname of a person. If a surname can be also used as a middle name. His middle name is Worthing. He is the fourth generation of that name. I have been told at some point in my family tree was a last name. Is that possible, Jessica?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would definitely use that as a clue. I mean, it's not proven evidence or anything, but as you're researching your ancestry, yes, if you come across a marriage to a Worthen, it's very common for those maiden names to be passed down in middle names. We see that a lot.
Okay.
So yeah, I would not be at all surprised if there was a marriage to a female Worthen at some point.
And that's how they preserve the last name. I know in Spain and Latin America, we just keep the last name of the mother. And from my Romanian roots, the occupations are converted into the last names. But I never heard about maiden names or like surnames.
I have a brother with a maiden name, middle name.
Okay.
It is very common.
So there you go. You have everything.
Yeah.
Now, hello, Loretta from Texas, Holly from Arizona, Nieves de Santo Domingo, hola, bienvenida. Rodrigo from Italy, and, oh, come on, Warchek from Ireland. Warchek, you're not from Ireland. You may be in Ireland, but yeah, that's not an Ireland name. Okay, Todd, again, from Kansas, he had another question. Do you ever do DNA testing using hair or nail samples? Yeah, I had this question also a couple of times. Unfortunately, people realize that they don't do DNA when the person is still alive and they are trying to get the DNA test. No, unfortunately, it's kind of very expensive and very different than the DNA that we're doing. We're doing autosomal DNA, which is a cheek swab from saliva. So you will need to actually swab the cheek of the person alive, preferably, please. And how many generations back it will go? Well, it really, as my understanding, scientist team here in MyHeritage says that there is no actual proof how back it can go, because the DNA just passes from generation to generation, and you can have traces of your DNA like from many hundreds of years back. So yeah, that's pretty much the answer. David from Michigan says, I did everything and I still have missing people. Welcome to the team. From all over the world. Yeah, you're a genealogist, David. What should I do next? Okay, it seems so David is not a basic user. He said he did everything, and he still have those brick walls that we were talking before. What would you recommend, Jessica?
Well, it's when someone says they've done everything, I'm not sure exactly what that means.
Yes.
I mean, have you done everything online? Maybe. Have you done everything in one database, like MyHeritage? Okay, there are multiple databases out there. So even online, there's a lot to harvest. And then, like we talked about, there's a lot that's still not online. So
so then the question,
have you done everything? Have you been in the archives? Have you been to the local?
Exactly. And the question would be when also, because the records that we have available today were not available last week or last month or last year.
Right.
So,
right. But I wonder also if maybe what he's getting at is the point in a family tree where the records are not obvious to you what the ancestry is. So you might have felt like you've searched everything and there was no obvious record that came up. There is a point, especially in U.S. research, once you hit the early 1800s, there is probably not going to be a record that's going to say so-and-so is the son of so-and-so. And you're going to have to put together a lot of different pieces through deed records, through wills, through tax records, and piece together that family, because there is no record that's just going to tell you that at that point.
Okay. So David, let me give you a hint here. Like, if you really think you did everything, just hire a researcher, especially if your family is coming from another country or Europe, and then you may for sure will have troubles with the language and locating the archive. I know it myself. I had to recur to another person to actually go to the archive and search those records for me. So here you have it. Okay, we have here another question from Elaine from Illinois. Her grandparents came to the US from Czechoslovakia around 1912, and I have been unable to trace them back to their homeland. I would say that this applies not only to Czechoslovakia, but any other country. What was the immigration records or process in the US?
Well, I was really excited to see 1912 on there because we've got a pretty clear break in the US between pre-1906 immigration records and post-1906 immigration records. So being post-1906 is really great news. We got a lot more organized at that point, and the records will ask for a lot more information. So if your grandparents were naturalized, it will ask them where they were born and when they were born. And once you've got that information, it's really not hard to access the records in Czechoslovakia for their birth and things like that. So to get to the naturalization record itself, one really great thing 1920 census actually asked people if they were naturalized and what year they were naturalized in. So with that, you can know when your grandparents were naturalized and where they were living at the time, most likely, and then you can search for those naturalization records. There are 4 million on MyHeritage. I looked that up. So hopefully
naturalization
they're just right
records.
there.
Yes, all in total is 8.2 and counting.
There are a lot of naturalization records online, but some are not online. So if you don't find them online, that doesn't mean they don't exist. They were actually kept on many jurisdictions. So city level, county level, state level, and federal level all have naturalization records. So it can be a little bit hard to track down exactly where your ancestors were naturalized.
You really need to do your homework and know the history of the family and try to
it's
trace
just
them.
kind of wherever they happened to want to be naturalized, whatever was most convenient to them. So you have to check a few places.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, and it seems that 1912 is not that far back for a family tree. Harry is actually asking, what is the furthest back in history that a family tree can be traced to? Well, Harry, I can tell you, I have seen family trees in MyHeritage going back to Jesus, but I will doubt the sources for that family tree. It really depends. It depends on the countries where your family is coming from. It really depends how well preserved records are, or the family kept track of ancestors over there. Again, on my personal tree, from my side, I can so far trace them to the 1700s. Now, my wife, in the other hand, comes from a family very well researched, and we go back to 1400s with no problem. And I have a complete lineage with source citations, documents, and everything. So it really depends on each one family tree. Now, Paula is from Portland. And she's asking, she just wrote a question down here, okay, and you can do the same. If you are joining us now, you can do your questions right here, as Paula did. And she said she cannot get back further on her Daniel Shannon and James Shannon brothers in North Carolina, 1758. Well, yeah, I understand that. She have searched records online and still can't find who their father was or anything before that year. Jessica, do you know any special thing about 1758?
Well, that is a really tough time period. So the U.S., unlike many other countries, did not institute, countrywide church records or something like that, where every child was baptized and recorded. We don't have that luxury in the U.S. And so once you get, pre-vital records, you have to do a lot more detective work. So for North Carolina early, you're going to be in tax records and deeds and wills and, those types of...
Those are the huge books that you need two hands to pass them. No? Okay.
Well, maybe, but so many of them are already microfilmed. They might be online. Okay. So, you're going to be putting together a case for who their father is. Mm-hmm. You're going to go into the tax records for their town and look at who's in that town and who possible fathers may be. You're going to be looking at probate records in case there was a will. If there was, that's going to be a big plus. So, it's more difficult records, but it can be done. It just takes more time.
Oh, yeah, time is what we all need, right? and if at this time you're just joining us, again, my name is Daniel Horowitz. I'm an expert genealogist on MyHeritage, and I'm with Jessica Taylor from Legacy Tree Genealogists. Researchers partner with MyHeritage to help you do your brick walls and your hard research. Leave it to them. We have Laura from Canada, Janine from Germany, and Kathy from California. So yeah, we are really having people from all over the world. And we also have Sultan from Hungary. And Sultan is asking if he can have his raw data after the DNA test. And he wants to have interpretation by an expert regarding health, fitness, and nutrition specifics. Well, definitely, Sultan, you can download the raw data that MyHeritage produce. If you actually open that file, it's going to be a huge line with numbers in sequence, and it will be almost impossible really to make sense of that. The type of DNA test that we're doing is autosomal, is for genealogy purposes. It's not health, fitness, nutrition, anything beyond your ancestors and the relationship between you and other people. But again, I don't know if there are softwares or other products in the market that will take this raw data and give you any information about health or nutrition. You can just Google it. Probably you will find somebody that creates a report for you based on this DNA. I understand also that the process that goes on the DNA is different if you want to have a health report or a nutrition report. You know anything about it?
Yeah, so there is a third party, Prometheus. It's hard to spell. Prometheus.
You go ahead and say it again. I'm not going to say it.
They will take your raw data, and for last I checked, it was only $5. You can get access to a lot of medical reports related to that data.
Okay.
So that might be.
So there you go. That's why we asked genealogists. So go ahead, write your questions below, and Jess will pass it to us. The next one is coming from Lynn, we said, Colorado. I would like to verify who my maternal grandfather is. Oh, this is a juicy one. Mm-hmm. I do have a name and New York date of birth, but so far I can't find his death details or New York gravesite. Why New York gravesite? Why if he didn't die in New York? But what's the best way to do this? Jessica.
Yeah, so there are a couple of resources for New York. Because of privacy laws, you'll only get records up to about 1965. So I don't know how recently he died. But if it's before that, if you died in New York City, you should check italiangen.org. Italiangen.org. If it was in the rest of New York State, there are several different databases online for death records. New York State itself has death records. That's at ny.gov. So those would be a couple of places to check.
Good. So I have to say that I was really nervous at the beginning with this Facebook Live, but right now it's easy.
It's pretty fun,
right? It's fun, yes. And
and we should throw in, if she's trying to verify the grandfather, a DNA test, absolutely.
That's
it would also be something that should be done.
Yeah, DNA for sure. Well, if she can do it on her father or mother, like descendants of this grandfather, I will suggest it. If not, it's still good to do it on yourself, and you carry the DNA of your grandfather over there. Okay, and just to remind you that Jessica is here on MyHeritage headquarters because we're having a one-day seminar on Sunday morning U.S. time, October 29. We're having a series of lectures, and we're broadcasting those lectures to you through a webinar, to Legacy Tree webinar. So you can go to Legacy Family Tree webinars. Yes, thank you. There's too many legacies in the area. Yeah, you can have more information if you go to our blog, which is very easy, blog.myheritage.com. We have a post over there with the subjects of the lectures and the times, and you can register for any of them without any problem. Let's see what we have here. How do I find out how to take your test? Okay, so Andrea, I don't know where Andrea is from. I guess Andrea is talking about the DNA test, the MyHeritage DNA test. Well, you go to myheritagedna.com and you will have over there all the information. You will receive a box like this, and inside you can find the swap and all that you need right here. Okay, so this is the kit that you are going to get, Andrea, and you will be able to do the swap and just send us the sample and we will take care of the rest. So that easy. Now I have another question here from Daniela, and Daniela is asking something very interesting. How can you give some, okay, if you can give some clarifications on source citation. She's mentioning a few samples here: newspapers, records, GRI Poland, JPress. Well, definitely, yeah, you need to take source citation very seriously. And every time I talk about genealogy in a conference, I encourage people to follow with source citation, because what happens is that most of the people build their family trees and they start typing information and then they don't remember. It happens to me. You don't remember where you took this information from. So please, yes, source citation, very important. Jessica, you have any insight?
I mean, just to add to that, for me, I always think about the future generations. And, you know, if your tree doesn't have sources on it, that generation is going to have to redo your work because they can't verify that it's true without redoing that work. We have clients often who come to us and hire us just to verify the family tree, where if the family tree had source citations, it'd be so much faster to go back through, you know, and check what somebody else has done without redoing that work. So as far as how to cite sources for genealogy, there is a genealogist named Elizabeth Schoen Mills who has written a book called Evidence Explained. That's where most genealogists get their foundation for how to cite a genealogy related source. At Legacy Tree, we tend to follow a modified version of the Chicago Manual style, which also is fine. The thing that you really want to be aware of is just the point of the citation is so that someone in the future could easily find that record again. So you just want to include enough information that somebody knows where you got that from. And one thing to keep in mind is that that cannot just be a URL, because URLs break and change, and a generation from now we have no idea if that URL is still going to be the same. So you've got to include the name of the source, the place, you know, all of the details about the actual record itself in addition to the URL.
To be as specific as you can in order to go back and find it again.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So we have a question from Darren. And Darren is asking if it's common to have differences in census information versus marriages, burial, birth data, etc. Well, Darren, this is an easy one. Yes, because documents are actually written by people and are written on a specific situation. In fact, I can tell you that I have 3 different records from my grandfather and the dates don't match. Like, in order to go out of Europe, he had to be older, so the birth date is fake, it makes him older. In order to go into the country, he had to be younger, so he needed a document that will say that he is less than he really was. So yeah, definitely you will have different information. What I do, and Jessica's going to tell us in a second what she does or what she recommends, I keep all the details, again, with the source citation, where I took this information from, but I don't discard anything unless I'm 100% sure. And even though I leave a mark saying that this record has this different date, although it's not real. Like, I know that for some reason was manipulated, but that's what the record says, and we cannot change what the record says. What do you do with those conflicts in dates and different records?
So I think that was perfect advice. I think that what you want to keep in mind is our goal in genealogy is to prove the genealogical connection. So all of those data points, birth dates, death dates, marriage places, they are pieces of evidence to point you towards proving who your ancestor actually was. And so just like any evidence, you have to weigh those pieces of evidence together to decide, is this record actually my ancestor, even though it's 4 years off? Well, what are the other data points in that record? Is there enough data to say, yeah, enough things match? Yes, this is my ancestor. The point is that connection. But yeah, I mean, especially census records, you got to realize there was just some random census taker going door to door, writing down what people said. Sometimes they wrote down what the neighbor said. Sometimes a kid answered the door.
He understood
and languages,
that the person said, which is even worse.
Yeah.
Because it's not actually what the person said, is what he understood the person said.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so I don't know if you have more questions. You can always write it down here below. But if not, just give us your name and your place. I see Jess writing like crazy all the names here. I have Deb from Colorado. I have Joanne from Wisconsin, and I have Michelle from Jersey. Again, we're popular in Jersey. And we have Cheryl. Cheryl has a question which I love this one. Those two brothers with the same parents have same DNA results? That's also a very easy one. No! What's that? Well, chicken soup, right, Rafi? Imagine that you are cooking a chicken soup. You put salt, pepper, potatoes, the chicken, of course, don't forget that. And you put all the ingredients in the same bowl. You cook it for a while, and then you're starting to serve into bowls. The first bowl you're serving will have some amount of chicken, cucumber, carrots, potatoes, etc. Every scoop that you take out from that soup will not be exactly the same. We still have the same ingredients, but are not exactly in the same proportions. Normally, we pass 50% of the DNA into our kids, or we receive 50% of the DNA from our ancestors, but it's not exactly the same 50%. And just to be truth to the source citation, the chicken soup idea is not mine. That's from Cheryl from Family Search. So thank you for that, Cheryl. And again, if you're joining us now, I'm here with Jessica Taylor from Legacy Tree Genealogist from the MyHeritage headquarters. And again, we're here as part of the one-day seminar that we're going to have on Sunday. So tune in on our blog, blog.myheritage.com, in order to get more information about the seminar, which is going to be broadcast through webinar. And we are already hitting the 38-minute mark. Wow, that's quite long. So probably we will have time for only just one or two more questions. And we have here, let's see, Shayla from Virginia Beach in Virginia. Okay, Virginia Beach from Virginia. How can we get the most out of a search and make sure it's accurate without using DNA? Here you have a person that doesn't want to use the DNA. So what would you say, Jessica?
There's a lot you can do just with paper, and that's fine. I think one thing I guess you'd want to keep in mind is just that paper isn't always accurate, and there are times where our ancestors wrote things down on paper that weren't true, that they knew were not true at the time, and DNA has uncovered that. So it is a great idea to take a DNA test. It's one way to verify that the records that you've used to connect your ancestors were telling you the truth.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's plenty you can learn just with records.
Now, regarding the actual search, I would like to say that don't trust the spelling on the names that you have. Like if you're searching for an exact spelling of the name that you have, you may not get the right person or information about the person that you are looking for. Names change, spelling change, people wrote the names in a different way. Maybe you're looking into a specific state and the person was not in that state anymore and they move. So keep your minds open and do the search recurrently every time because again, more and more information is making available. Do we have time for another last question? One more? Good, one more. Oh, yeah, this is not the question, but this is a message. Don't forget, you can watch these answers again. Oh, that I didn't know. So we're recording this. Good. So if you came late, you can still catch up with the questions from the beginning. This is Facebook Live and will be available to watch on the MyHeritage Facebook page. Are we also putting it into the Legacy Tree Genealogy page?
Yes,
yes, for sure. Yeah, that's why we're partners, we're friends, and we do things together. Do we have any other questions coming in? No, we have a lot of people putting their names in their places. So then Richard from Pennsylvania and Stefan from Massachusetts. Thank you very, very much for coming today, for attending today this Facebook Live event. Yes, it's an event, it's a recording now, it's recorded. You will see it very soon in our Facebook page. I hope you can join us as well on Sunday for Jessica's lecture, and we have also Tim Jansen, my lecture, Tim Jansen's lecture. Yeah, we have a whole set of lectures for you. It's 7 lectures during the whole day. Also from here, from the MyHeritage headquarters.
And where can they access those online?
Well, we said that you need to register through the blog. You have more information over there, blog.myheritage.com. Any other thing that I forgot?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Rafi, Jessica, do we need to? Yes, myheritage.com to discover, preserve, and share your family trees. It has been a pleasure. I hope we will have more opportunities to do this soon. And thank you very much, Jessica, for being here, and have a wonderful stay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.